So a very, very warm welcome to our July Met event. What a bumper of a July we've had. Euro 2021. I'm not sure if we're mentioning that yet. It's too soon, perhaps, yeah. Wimbledon, obviously, been fantastic as well. And it's almost time for the schools to break up now as well. Many of us will be gearing up for the 19th of July and the easing of the final restrictions that are going to be lifted. And that is basically going to be our ultimate point of our conversation today. Now, what's great about Stockton Bid is their ability to bring a broad range of business sectors together under one brand, which is the Met. So every month we hear various businesses promoting and communicating because we've all got really different experiences, which is great. And let us know what's good in their business at the moment. Now, the focus for Stockton Bid is the communication of high street development and the promotion of Stockton high street business community that operate from these streets. So thank you for your continued support via Zoom as well. We've managed to keep this going all the way through numerous lockdowns and the last year and a bit and everything else. And here we are still on Zoom. One day, I'm sure we will meet again in person, but it's been great to have your support virtually as well. Now, we've got a few new people joining us this evening. I know Georgia Armin there from Endeavour Partnership. It's lovely to see you. If you give us a little wave so everyone can, yeah, I know it's embarrassing, isn't it, making you wave at the camera, Georgia. It's lovely to have you along with us this afternoon. I know Endeavour have been a part of this for quite a while, but it's nice to see your face as well. We're expecting a few other new people today. We're hoping Paul Cow is going to drop in from William Hill at some point. Not with us at the moment, but we will, of course, welcome him in when he does. So then, what is the so-called Freedom Day likely to look like in England? And will it go ahead on the 19th of July? This is when all legal limits on social contact are set to be removed, but some elements of post-Step 4 life remain a little bit unclear, I think. So, what does the roadmap currently say? Well, when Boris Johnson set out his plan for easing coronavirus measures back in February, he told MPs that Step 4 would see all legal limits on social contact being removed. This means there'll be no limits on the numbers of people you can meet up with, both inside and outside your home, although some guidance may be still kept in place around this. In addition, the remaining businesses that are still closed, including nightclubs, are set to reopen. And restrictions on large events such as sport, theatre, live music, business events, all set to be eased, along with all limits on weddings and other life events. Now, leading the conversation and the instrumental force behind Stockton Met, shaping the conversation that is changing Stockton High Street, business leader Jason Maxwell of Stockton Business Improvement District. I'm going to swing over to you first, Jace. Now, I'm going to bring in Karen Shields as well, actually, of ATCM and Purple Flag membership manager, to contribute and sort of help shape the wider view of how our towns and cities across the UK are responding to Freedom Day, which obviously Freedom Day is how the media have been calling it for the last few months. So, Jace, how's it looking for you at the moment?
It's a bit of a difficult one, to be honest, Matt. And I know they're calling it Freedom Day, but there's an awful lot of very nervous businesses out there. I'll be perfectly honest. With even things like people not having to wear masks anymore, that's not legally binding. A lot of the businesses are unsure of how to react to that. They still want to wear them. They're still expecting people to. So from those points of view, it's really, really difficult. And I think I've spoken to about 15 or 16 businesses already this week that are very, very nervous about Monday, particularly with the numbers rising as they are. I know that the deaths are lower than they were, but the numbers are just off the scale at the moment. And I can see Sean, who's my chair, sat in the middle of my screen there, that people have got real problems with staffing issues and things like that at the moment. They've got lots of people off with staff shortages. So in a number of units, and we've seen businesses having to close just because they can't staff them at any particular time. So it is a real worry. And I know that numbers have been restricted, but again, people like ARC, I think Sean will probably tell us a little bit more, are at keeping their numbers at a lower level. And I think it's a really responsible thing to do. And I think it's probably the right thing to do in lots of cases. So great that it's opening. Nervous about doing so, but I think the overriding message to the public has to be sensible and please be kind from human and spirit point of view, is that if someone asks you to wear a mask in their store, please do it. You know, the guys that are working in retail, in hospitality, are there doing a job and don't deserve a whole load of grief if they ask you to keep a mask on. So I think people have to be at this moment in time more than anything else kind, because it's going through the roof.
Absolutely. I say, I think everyone was really looking forward to the 19th. And as you say, I think now it's kind of a mixture of worry and not. I suppose, Karen, you could sort of bring us up on the national picture and, you know, how your members are preparing for the 19th.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking me here again today. I think Jason's comments there are extremely valid, and I'm wondering whether we should be calling it Proceed with Extreme Caution Day. You know, I was in a presentation yesterday that the ATCM held for all of our Purple Flag members, and we had to title that Making Safe the Dangerous and Unethical Experiment, because the world is actually watching us. We've been leading the race in the vaccination process, and with a fantastic response. You know, we've got now more than 50% of our population is actually fully vaccinated, and 11 million have actually had the first dose. That is far, far ahead of anywhere else in the world. So the next steps that we take are being watched globally, and we know that. What does it mean? You know, what do we do next? Well, 19th, almost all restrictions have been lifted and nightclubs can reopen. I'd just like to say that in France, they reopened for 3 nights and then closed again. In Denmark, the Prime Minister there had to do a public apology to everybody because he jumped the gun too much. So we're on a knife edge, basically, so we need to be really careful. From the 16th of August, double vaccinated people won't need to self-isolate if they get pinged because of this pandemic that we've got that's been going on, because they're going to relax the whole rules on that as well. They're also changing the algorithm on the app. So if you do come into contact with people, you might not be pinged depending on where you are in your status. So that's obviously very, very dangerous. The world's watching us, there's no doubt about it. The reason the world's watching us is we've got a vertical increase in infections. Now, you've all seen the news, the Northeast is not faring very well in this at all. I mean, I don't want to be here as the doom monger, but I'm just trying to be very realistic here. And that's down to the Delta variant. Now, the Delta variant is 60% more infectious than the very infectious Alpha variant. So that gives you some sort of idea as to what's happening. The NHS, James Cook University Hospital, have known about this coming for a while. They've been on standby with more intensive care facilities that are actually available. So they know that there's going to be a massive shift and an uprise. 4,000 scientists and doctors have written to the Lancet and have actually said, mass infection is not an option. We must be doing more to protect our young. The reopening is dangerous and premature. Young people will become protected by infection and not by vaccination. The move's been described as unnecessary and illogical. We're expecting predictions to go as high as 100,000 a day on the infection rate. Now, that to me just scared the pants off me. I just thought, oh my goodness, I'm one of those people, Jason, that is been venturing out. I was nervous at first, been venturing out, meeting people for a coffee, doing a bit of shopping, trying to get myself out and about again. I hate to say that, I feel like I want to crawl back under the rock on Tuesday. Now, I was at a meeting on Tuesday night. Now, somebody there has just tested positive, so I've had to go out and get the usual test kit. I don't know tomorrow whether they're going to come back with a COVID positive test, the lateral flow test, where they're going to come back. So then I go into self-isolation. And I just thought, oh my goodness, when's it actually going to end? So yes, I want it to happen. I want to save the high street. We've got to have something, if not now, when. I get that conversation. And I don't know whether it's just to suck it and see and get on with it, but please be very, very careful. And I think the throwing off of face masks and things like that, personally, I think that's a bit of a mistake. We could still protect ourselves. We still have a responsibility to everybody that's vulnerable. and please just keep your customers and your family safe.
I think. Sorry, Matt, just for jumping back in. I think that the points that Karen make are totally relevant then, but I think the big comment on there is, if not now, then when? Because we have to take a leap at some point. I don't know whether we have to take a full leap or we just go down to a little ledge somewhere and go halfway. I'm not sure about the measures of, getting rid of face masks and all of those types of things. I think when you're in large gatherings or you're on public transport and those types of things, I think you probably still should wear masks. So I think that should have been kept. But we do have to try at some point to open. We can't keep saying we're not going to do it, we're not going to do it.
There is an argument, Jason, that said, if not now, when? Well, I always thought that when everybody was vaccinated, which we're not safe until we're all safe. However, that would probably be in September when we have the winter months coming and the flu stuff happening. So that could actually be worse for us. So this could be it could be something that works out very, very well if people are sensible. I just get a feeling that there's a bit of, well, they're calling it Freedom Day and people are getting a bit more demob happy. It might not quite be like that. When you have nightclubs where young people are close to each other in that sort of proximity, that's the hotbed for infection. And so, with caution, with extreme caution, just keep you've come this far now, do not throw it out for that.
And I think that's one of the important things. Sorry, Matt, we're now into a fully blown conversation. I can see Emma's jumping in on a conversation. I think that's fair. And, I know we've got a script that we normally stick to and all of those types of things, but I think it's a really important topic to get people's feelings on. And I think, Karen's right with things like nightclubbing and those types of things. I'm not sure that should be a thing at the moment. I think, and I desperately feel for those businesses that are nightclubs and that have got businesses and that they're now not getting an awful lot of help from a government point of view, and they've got to make bills and all of those types of things. But, it is increasingly difficult. We have to open. The kids are off school, so the things, I guess, aren't being transmitted in those same sorts of way. And is it a bit of a circuit break that we were previously talking about? But, when you've got buildings like Arc open and they're trying very, very hard. I mean, I know Sean's been sanitizing buildings and all sorts, and it's really difficult to keep people safe at this moment in time. And I know every business is doing their level best. And I think our social media message over the next few days will be, yes, please go out, try and enjoy yourselves, but please be sensible. We don't want to see, the scenes of crowding and those types of things that are just going to cause infection to increase. Sean, you've had real problems this week, haven't you, with your guys in Arc, and even when it comes to staffing and trying to get the place open, you've had about 12 hats on this week, haven't you?
I have, just as you know, it's we've for the last probably 3 weeks, but this week's come to a head a bit. It's like you start to tip the balance of whether we can even stay open because of the number of staff really that are either self-isolating or have got COVID now. I know I've got a couple of staff who are really quite ill again, which is quite worrying. Young people, not older, not vaccinated. It's and there's people getting pinged, as they say, left, right, and centre. It's just we've got events planned for next week after the 19th, but we've kept the numbers really low because, in the hope that we can still manage them with staff, should we lose any more, because we could have sold them. I'm quite sure we could have sold, like 400 tickets for Friday, next Friday night for comedy, and we're allowed to, but we've kept it at 100 just because I'm not convinced we'll be able to deliver it from a staffing point of view, which, from a government point of view, they're telling us that everything's back to normal and you're free to go and make money, which we are in a sense, but it just doesn't feel like the ethical thing to do, or something that we probably can do from a staffing point of view. So it's you mentioned schools there. It's my son, he's had to self-isolate again, the second time in probably like a month. So he's doing 10 days, but now his school's closed because of that many teachers are either self-isolating or have COVID. So it's kind of like I think it's a really tricky and testing time, and I think Karen's hit the nail on the head. I think we have to have caution. I think we've opted to keep masks for the foreseeable future, and that with it being a public building, we've had a little bit of backlash from that. I've had people kind of email me directly to complain about my decision, and I'm saying, well, you know, that, yeah, it's one guy, I said, I respect your decisions, but I won't be coming back. I said, well, I'm glad you can respect my decisions, and hopefully we'll see you when you feel like you can come back. But I don't know if you thought I was going to change my mind because of his strongly worded email, but it's just bizarre. I think it's a really bizarre time, more so than it was last year. I think we knew where we were last year. It was everyone's being careful, everyone's doing what they can, and now it's like a free-for-all. So, yeah, I'm a bit concerned from a business point of view and a personal point of view.
I think what was interesting is, you know, when the government first announced the lifting of restrictions, and I think the words personal responsibility were used, and, you know, it's actually handing the responsibility now over to people, and it's up to us to make the decisions. What's interesting in tonight's chat, though, as we were just mentioning there, you know, we do have things we want to talk about. This is such a hot topic that we want to really focus on and get everyone's opinion on tonight, which is why we massively appreciate you popping in into the chat box here. I know we've got Georgia there from Endeavour saying, agree with Karen, I'll continue to wear a face mask for the foreseeable. Emma agrees with Karen, looking to heed caution as well. Emma's story there. You're getting married, Emma, and so you're even, you know, that's, I guess that's an event you would want to throw off the masks, but even then you're considering keeping some restrictions in place. If you want to, feel free to unmute yourself and join in, Emma. You know, what's led you to that decision?
I think it's just that the numbers are terrifying, and I don't know how I could, you know, keep my peace if I found out that people were gotten poorly from attending my wedding. And it's that kind of self-awareness and the accountability for it as well. And I think that even in that kind of like what should be a really happy, expressive kind of party day, I'm still massively, massively cautious, to the point where I now have variations of, you know, people who are now only coming for the ceremony, who are only coming to do the arrival because they don't want to be in that environment. And I think that that's something that we're trying to replicate with our business model as well, is how flexible we can be for the people who want to work with us on certain times. We used to work a lot with hot desking in people's businesses, but again, that's not something that we are going back to anytime soon, because we don't want to be in other workplaces too soon and too freely until we know that we can be doing that safely. So I think personally and professionally, it's finding that balance between being able to move forward, but at the same time acting with such extreme caution and being conscious of the accountability of it at the end of the day.
Matt,
Thanks, Emma. Thanks for jumping in.
Can I just jump in again? Sorry, Emma. I know. How does your business feel? Because I know Boris, as part of his message, said that, you know, the back to work message is there. Go back to work. And we need people back to work. We need, and I can see Lisa's commented from the council there about, you know, but when those guys aren't going back, and I can't even bear to imagine how many staff that the borough council would have that would be going in and spending £3 or £4 or £5 every day on the lunch and those types of things. But when you get that, you've got to go back to work message, and it's difficult, isn't it, to see how many businesses are actually going to take that message on board, or how many are going to work part-time, how many are going to work full-time, how many are going to go back at all. I mean, I know we've had conversations, Karen, about smaller towns being built up, and places like Altrincham, for example, around Manchester, are now absolutely thriving because people aren't going back to the office and aren't going into Manchester. So there are all these sort of sub-towns that are growing up. And I guess as Stockton, we might be one of them. But, you know, what are your feelings about going back into the office, and what have the messages been communicated like?
Yeah, very much what you've just said there. I still think that there's a need for people to go back into the office. I can't see anybody being promoted or being noticed or being present from working from home. I think there's a huge thing about being the one that's in the office doing things, and I think eventually we'll get to that again. I think there's a buzz about being in the office as well, to be honest with you. If you work in central London or in one of the cities, there's nothing nicer than going out for lunch or going out for a drink or doing something after work. So you have that sort of social side and getting to know your colleagues and things like that a little bit better, which means that the teams actually gel together. The knock-on effect has been, like you just said there, Jason, places that are built around big cities actually have fared very well. So Rochdale's another one. Rochdale is thriving in a really great way, whereas a lot of those people used to commute into Manchester, so they're not doing it as much. I think we will settle for some sort of hybrid. I'd like to see like working hubs. I think people are tired of sharing their office with the ironing board and the ironing and the kids coming in at 3 o'clock. There's only so much you can do that with. But I also think as well that for the economy of the town, and this is the big one, you know, is whenever I used to go out at lunchtime, I'd never be coming back in without something, whether it be a sandwich, a drink, a bag, a jumper from Marks and Spencer's or whatever. You know, that fuels the economy of that town, even as far as the car parking charges when you're feeding it money, the petrol that you buy, the fact that you need 2 cars because you're going into town a lot. So it drives a whole amount of the economy, not just your town centre. So I think it's vital. And I think people will eventually tire of it. I think we're still in that, because it's safe. As soon as it's safer to go out and we feel more confident, I wonder whether people will sort of want to go out more. I can't see anybody at the end of this pandemic saying, "Oh, I can't wait to sit at home and work," once you're allowed out.
Matt, I know, Matt, I'm taking over your role here. Matt Boxall's just put a comment in about, Matt, you must have spoken to a number of businesses in the same way as I have. How are they feeling in Castlegate? Because I know some have been closed, haven't they, because they've had COVID issues. Sorry, Matt Bailey, I'm taking over.
There is a fair bit of uneasiness, I suppose, amongst retailers, but I think if the retailers are strong enough to stand by the messaging that's out there, then I don't really see much of an issue. We're already, if you walk through any sort of town centre, I suppose at the moment, there's already people that aren't wearing masks. That you know, you'll ask people to wear them, and they'll just say, you know, they'll tell you, you know, in uncertain terms. But I think if the retailers stand by what they're actually saying to people and strong by the messaging that they've got in the windows and that sort of thing, you know, hopefully we won't have a problem. We're looking at ours. We're looking at our sort of strategy from Monday, and we're taking away our go left system, our keep left system, to make it as like I suppose an inclusive mall again. There's no sort of right or wrong ways around it. So I suppose we're encompassing more shoppers in the right way. But it's going to be, I suppose it is a little bit difficult. But the retailers stand by what their messaging is now. There shouldn't be much of an issue.
Will they have more comfort, Matt, in knowing that they're in a shopping centre with security guards and things like that? For example, I know Richard is kind of about somewhere. So you've got security guards on in yours. So if there are issues, they know to call. Whereas someone like Richard Drake, for example, I
suppose we can step in, Jason, but I suppose it's down to the retailer to manage. My security guards are here to protect the building and protect customers in the mall. If someone goes into a shop, and a lot of the stores are keeping their social distancing in place, the mask wearing, that kind of thing. Our security guards will help where we need to, but as I say, our security guards are there primarily for the building and obviously the customers themselves in the malls.
Cool.
I'll jump back in then,
Sorry,
Jace.
Matt.
Thanks for that. No, it's fine. I was going to swing over to Matt anyway over at. If for anyone who doesn't know, I'm sure you all know who Matt Boxall is, the general manager for Wellington Square in Castlegate. Now, I noticed, obviously, you were agreeing with, I think it was Joanne who popped a chat in there saying, you know, cautious opening is the right way to go. It's still massively important, I guess, Matt, that we do get reopened now, isn't it, though, and get things back on track, as you sort of saying.
Yeah, absolutely. It's massive. I know we've gone through 18 months, and I've never seen retail like it for 18 months. And there needs to be that buzz around the town and everything that's going on. Stockton's got some fantastic events going on throughout the summer. We need the people here to support those events and support the retail and retailers. So, you know, it's great to see sort of the pubs opened a few weeks back and that kind of thing. You know, I'm not a massive nightclubber. I'd probably be brave to go out in a nightclub in Stockton, but you know, it's good to see those industries finally opening and those buildings finally opening again.
I think it's what we were talking about before as well, you know, the personal responsibility. And I know Sean's put an excellent comment in there for anyone who was on social media over the weekend and saw the chap who decided to set off a firework or a flare at the football from a rather unusual holding space, what should we just say. You're right, Sean. I guess it's those people. I guess you kind of expect most people to have an awareness and you know, an ability to kind of assess a situation and have personal responsibility. But then there are the other sides of it. Matt, how are you going to look to handle that, and how are your businesses looking to handle that going forward? You know, because as I say, these people do have a kind of, I don't want to say it's not 50-50 split, but some people have a very different opinion of what they should be doing to others.
They do. I think we just got to, I suppose, from the responsible side of it, is trying to educate the people that don't want to be responsible about it. And you know, we'll be down in the malls, and you know, our you guys will, as I say, ask people to wear masks. We've got social media going out. We've got radio messages going out across our malls, well, across both malls and TVs in Castlegate. So we are doing our response from a shopping centre. I suppose we have been, you know, following the government guidelines, and that's all. It's very difficult to sort of enforce. It's very difficult to enforce now, unfortunately, even before the 19th. And you know, it's very difficult for I suppose, for a COVID marshal to come in and actually enforce for someone to wear a mask. But you know, I think we'll just play it day by day, week by week. You know, we are going to get cases. We've got cases at the moment with some of our retailers, and we just have to manage them as best we possibly can. It is going to be fairly reactive, I think. Yeah,
I know, one of those where, as you say, no situation, no solution fits all kind of thing.
I think you're right, Matt. I don't think, you know, there'll be one scenario that fits everything. You know, I manage an outdoor centre and an indoor centre, and they're both totally different demographics of customers, and you know, different types of shopping uses and that sort of thing. So it'll be difficult to manage, but we just have to take it day by day. My team are constantly talking between each other of how we can improve the service from our side of it, and how we can get involved more with retailers and that sort of thing. So, you know, hopefully, fingers crossed, you know, it should run fairly smoothly from our point.
Yeah, and for anyone who's getting hungry watching Matt there with the background, I know Joanne's put in the chat saying that background's making me very hungry. That background is the beautiful Blue Corn Baker, isn't it? That's moved to Wellington Square, right in saying?
Matt's got a little crumb there. Look,
it is. I'm not actually sat in Blue Corn Bakery. I'm sat in my office in Castlegate. It was shut, but Max asked me to actually try if I could get in there before, so I just thought I'd put a picture on behind. But it is fantastic. It's doing really well, and it's such a great sort of, you know, little business that Lynn's got there, coming from a market hall tenant in Castlegate to actually doing the cafe, to running the cafe, and the customers she's getting through there is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, we're really proud of having Lynn on Wellington Square.
Can I jump in? And I think if anyone hasn't been to Blue Corn Bakery, they are a family-run business, aren't they, Matt? And they've shown how you can go from a relatively small outlet in Castlegate, and I know they've got other units in Norton, etc., but to actually take a leap of faith, and you won't find anybody more committed, more passionate than Lynn. We had a meeting in there with Matt Vickers and the High Street team, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago, Matt? And there is nobody more passionate than Lynn and her team in there. So if anybody is down there, that is the place to go for a pint of Manchester tart. Not that I'm on a diet, not that I shouldn't be eating them, but it has to be the place to go.
You're right, Jason. She's an absolute advocate for Stockton as well, and for what we want to do in Wellington Square, and as retailers, and you know, she's put a lot of money into. She's put a life savings into this business, and you know, she is starting to see to reap the rewards of it. You know, there's a different customer coming. There's also the cafe culture she's got there. We've got various other bits and pieces going on with Lynn at the moment, and she's absolutely loving it. And she'd wish she'd done it sooner.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, whether it's a picture or not, Matt, it looks absolutely delicious. So, as Jay says, there we all need to pop down. Just stop watching the. I mean, we're all trying to shed the lockdown weight now, aren't we? It's just like, nah, just embrace it.
Winter's coming on. You need to build those stores back up again. Never mind.
Matt, always great to hear from you, and thank you very much for updating us with everything there. Thanks to everyone for jumping in the chat as well. Is anything you want to talk about? By all means, please do. I'd like to swing over to Matthew, actually, Matthew Connolly at EMS, which is Enterprise Made Simple, if you didn't already know. Matthew, now I was interested because, you know, it's, rather than talking about the shopping centre and stuff, are you all back to sort of face-to-face meetings now? Because we've seen from the social media that you're back delivering flexible working. And are you delivering training courses again? Are you having face-to-face? How's it going for you guys?
Yeah, everything is back to a certain normality here. So we are accepting visits from clients face to face, and we have training that's actually, well, we've got training ongoing as we speak. Although that is all done in a COVID secure manner. So we've still got, I mean, one thing that we try to do here is not create a school type environment with rows and rows of desks. Unfortunately, right now, that's what we have to do. So it's needs must at the minute. So if you came down to our training centre, you would find 2 meters apart desks, etc. We've also, as a staff, kind of decided that, look, on Monday, everything stays the same as it is today. So we've all decided that masks are still going to be worn by not only ourselves, but delegates in communal areas. And when you sit down, feel free to take them off. And that was a kind of a staff decision as to how we all thought it would best suit us and our families, really, because as Emma said, like Emma with her wedding, obviously completely different, but we just have that like that, almost like the impending guilt of what if we gave it to somebody, what if we took a step forward, like a jump forward rather than a step, and it cost somebody, let's hope not daily, or in fact time off work or things like that. But as a staff, again, we've put things in place where we have 3 lead trainers now. Those 3 aren't allowed in the building at the same time. Similarly for our admin staff, we've got a rotation out of the 4, we've got 2 in at once, and then they change round on a carousel. I myself am out and about anyway, so I've got my mask over there, I've got my sanitizer. But like I said, as a business, we're trying to do everything that we possibly can to make sure that we stay trading and providing the training courses, but in a manner that people want to come in. I think it's a kind of similar from what I've read in the chat and what I've listened to other people saying. If we said, right, the course that we want to put 35 bodies on is now in one room with 35 people, there'd be a lot of kickback from that. Yeah. So we're kind of staying with our 16s where we can comfortably fit that in. Just trying to we're trying to go along with what we feel is relevant in the area at the minute, rather than what Boris Johnson's saying, if that makes sense. I mean, I would love personally, because I'm double jabbed, fit and healthy, so to speak. I'd love to see 35 people in each of our training rooms as of Monday. It means more revenue for our business, but I don't think it's not the right thing to do just yet, in our opinion, anyway.
I guess that, Matthew, it comes down to the personal responsibility bit, doesn't it? That you have to, it's not personal, but it's your business's personal responsibility, and how you react to that. I think that's important.
Yeah, one good thing about that as well, though, or I like to think is a good thing, is that's not just right management, or Phil Teasdale, as I'm sure you all know, hasn't just said, right, this is what we're doing. He's took it in mind, and we're going to review it every 2 weeks. So like I said, it's I think everyone's going to do things slightly differently, but here at AMS, we've decided that what's happening at the minute is going okay. It's going well. And if it's not broke right now, why fix it? Why take that risk?
Yeah. Why do it? Thanks, Matthew. It's always nice to see you here at Stockton MET. And
thanks for having me again.
No, great, and some fantastic points there, I think. I'm actually going to swing over to our business in the spotlight now. Now, if any of you have been to the Met over the last sort of year and a bit, we do have our business in the spotlight. Today it is Drake's Bookshop, and to be honest, actually, I'm going to start with Richard from Drake's. Now, if you don't know what Drake's is, fantastic little bookshop on Silver Street in Stockton. I say little, it's taking over the world. It's an absolute glorious place. Now, Richard, before we get into sort of the business stuff, I want to just bring up your point here in the chat, which I think is quite interesting. Richard Forever says, moron's going to moron. Are we not slightly at risk of giving too much time and energy to a minority that we can't change? Which I think is an interesting point, Richard.
Hello, I've just moved for a minute. I mean, I don't mean to be kind of controversial, say being controversial, and we are massively fortunate in as much as I think if you have the word book in your business name, you've got an automatic moron filter anyway. So I think we have been really, really fortunate all the way through that we've had so little issue in terms of anything coronavirus related, whether that be our 18-year-old who has dodged the most ridiculous number of bullets. I think he's the only kid on the planet that hasn't isolated since last year. His mates have countless times. It's ridiculous. So we've been incredibly fortunate, and I get that we all need to be wary. And I again, as we'll see in a few minutes, the Booksellers Association are just such an incredible leviathan of amazingness that help us along the way. But I think we have to be really careful, don't we? That unfortunately, that bloke with the flare in a certain place probably drives, but we're not going to go off. We're not going to stop driving because he's driving a car. And I know that's not quite the point, but I think we have to give ourselves a lot of time and space for things that we can affect, rather than kind of worrying about those people that are just going to do it regardless of whether we politely ask or impolitely ask or anything else. Like I said, moron's just a moron.
That's it. A flare comes with instructions where to put it. It's entirely up to the person where they then choose to light it. I guess, Richard, is the point. I think it's a really interesting conversation, and please do jump in the chat box if you'd like to continue that. Richard, we're going to sort of, as you are our business in the spotlight, which is what we like to do every month on the Met, to highlight one of our fantastic local businesses right here in Stockton. Now, the last time we caught up with you, it was at home. From what I can see, you appear to be in the bookshop, surrounded by books there. Yeah. And you've recently just taken over the unit adjacent as well. So I mean, it's great to see the expansion as well with you guys at Drake.
Can I do this? What happens if I do this? So this is Drake Bookshop.
Sure enough.
And this is Drake Bookshop too. So yeah, I'm going to take you on a very quick thought. Mel and Jenna are currently having a meeting and doing lots of do lists. So wave and say hello, everybody. Mel was actually at an Enterprise Made Simple course the other day. Fab, really come back very, very raring to go and full of millions of ideas that no one's had a chance to sit down and talk and think about yet. But they're doing it now, so even better. There we are. And not even Matthew, rather, not even under request. It was a thing that was already happening. Honestly, it was. Promise, yes. So Mel's on the leadership. So once upon a time, we kind of had this sort of section, and then the till point was there, and the kids section was sort of down there. But now we've got there were and on another one there were Blue Corn Bakery cakes here earlier on as well. But they've disappeared, funnily enough. So and then there's a hole in the wall. Now, if people are old enough to remember, once upon a time this was popcorn, and once upon a time this was chips. And so we've essentially asked Jomas to put the hole back in the wall, and they did, which is fab. So we've got the old shop, which is for the grown-ups these days, and then we've got a bright, lovely, decorated by or painted rather by my 18-year-old son, who has not isolated, which is amazing. So this is us. This is some weeks old. I think 2 weeks, 2 and a bit. I don't know. Some period of time that is longer than a day or two. This has been in place, and we are properly thrilled and excited, and really, really chuffed about it all. And just as an aside, it's not on this one window, it's on this one here. Sorry, bear with me a minute. Going back to the BA, the Booksellers Association. So from the word go, the Booksellers Association kind of had a whole bunch of stuff for us. Please keep a safe distance and all sorts of things like this that they just provided carte blanche across the industry. And then they've just gone with, so essentially the independent book sector comes from that standpoint from here on in. So we're really fortunate. We've got that kind of huge power behind us to sort of go with, look, all of the independent bookshop sector is going with this. But then Mel found this one as well the other day, which is brilliant. By wearing a mask, you're helping to keep our independent shop open. And underneath it is because as a small business, we don't have enough staff to operate it if we're told to isolate. Your mask is helping to slow down the spread. We appreciate it. And so, those little bits and pieces have made such a massive, not difference, but they've really kind of allowed us to come from a position of strength, for want of a better phrase, if you like. But as I say, also having the word book on your business does kind of take some of those issues out of the place in the first instance. But yeah, this is our new space, and we're just thrilled to bits and delighted to be here.
It's beautiful. I mean, I'm not sure about that, Richard, though, because you do need to get an instruction book on how to light a flare. So they might still get into your brand new beautiful bookstore. Now, I mean, it's interesting you should say, obviously we were talking about the staff earlier, and the fact that particularly Sean was saying, down the arc, that staff members are struggling at the minute because there's a lot of isolation going on, and people kind of forget that when they're going into somewhere. It's not just the public that they're keeping safe. It's not just themselves and other people shopping. It's actually the people who are working there, and a lot of people on skeleton staff. And if one goes down, and it can take an entire independent business down, which is so important for businesses that we have, in the beautiful business that we have in Stockton, in particular independent traders. But are you feeling excited about Monday though, albeit all the the nerves and everything like that? Are you looking forward to grasping that bit of normality back on Monday the 19th?
If I'm honest, it kind of, I mean, my frustration is we decided yesterday we've not kind of officially opened the new bit yet, and we were going to have a party week on Saturday, because obviously coronavirus finishes on Sunday, and we're all free to do what the hell we want on Monday. And so it was like, oh well, let's have and then all of a sudden it was like, and rightly so, and I'm not saying I agree with that thing of just let's crack on, but it was like, well, it's all well and good saying keep safe, and Nielsen are providing these, and there's those polite signs and all the rest of it, and then saying everyone crack on, fill your boots, crow by yourself in, there's a piece of cake and a glass of champagne. So we're kind of gonna, and maybe a vaccine in the corner if you need it, or I don't know, a flow test or whatever. But so we're gonna put that on pause, so we're open, and we'll continue with the whole, we've doubled in size, so therefore we're allowed to have twice as many people in, which is kind of quite handy. So we've already sort of done that before Monday. I don't really see a massive amount changing, if I'm brutally honest. Again, I know I keep harping back to it, but our customers, and I'm not saying, by the way, that anyone else's customers aren't sensible by that. I'm just saying that, the situation of where it is. In fact, if anything, the number of times people have come in and after 2 or 3 minutes have gone, hey, I've not got my mask on. And I'm sitting there going, oh, yeah. Oh, you haven't, have you? And it's never been, they've been the other side of the shop, or they've been the other side of the screen or wherever. So it's not really ever been an issue, but it's one of those where someone will kind of come in and stand at the doorway, and they kind of try and do something preparatory, I guess, about it. So I don't really see a massive change on Monday, other than the fact that it's school holidays. So hopefully we may see some more kids along the way, and so on and so forth. I keep harping back. We talked at length about, when it's all over, there'll be big, we're just going to commandeer Silver Street and have a big party and all the rest of it. And I guess the thing is, when will that be? I mean, will it be August? Will it be October? Will it be 2025? Will it be somewhere in between those two kind of dates, I guess? And that's, I suppose, frustration. It's, the BBC said, oh, one day we will report on no deaths kind of thing, and all the rest of it. It's like, well, yeah, okay, but how are you going to measure that? How are you going to judge that? And how is it that we can all get back to normal?
Absolutely.
I was listening to a really interesting program on the radio last night about, because of these, and because of the fact that every nursery has been sanitized within an inch of its life every 30 seconds for the last 18 months, and kids aren't eating that kilo of dirt that they used to eat every day before the age of 2 to increase their immune systems. Kids are just being really, really ill, and we kind of, in some ways, and I'm not advocating that we, but in some ways, again, Matthew said, as soon as masks stopped at school, instantly you saw kids going off with colds and coughs and everything else. I mean, when was the last time anyone in this chat had a cold or a cough? Because these have done that as well as everything else. So it's a brilliant plan, and I can see, we were talking again the other day, once upon a time you saw some of the students wearing these, and you kind of thought, oh, that's a bit weird. Well, that's, and they were doing it because they had a cold. Well, that's really weird. But now, if someone has a cold and is wearing this to protect everyone else, it kind of become a bit of a norm. So when does that free-for-all party on Silver Street kind of happen?
Richard, we're all excited about the free-for-all party on Silver Street. When it does happen, I'm sure we'll all be there. It's fantastic to hear from you as always, and thank you so much for showing us around the new shop as well.
Matt, can I jump in for just a second?
Yep.
I know Richard was talking about numbers and things like that. Matt Boxall, have you seen numbers rising in the Castlegate and Wellington Square from your footfall counters or anything? Are they getting back towards a more normal level? Are they going up, or are they steadying? Or
yeah, they're still going up, Jason. last week I think we had something like near sort of 80,000 through Castlegate and 50,000 through Wellington Square. So yeah, they are getting back to sort of like pre-COVID 2019 figures.
And what are you expecting on Monday, just as they are now, do you think? Probably.
I think it'll depend on the weather and a few other factors, but yeah, I'd expect to see probably sort of between 80 and 90,000 people through next week through Castlegate, and certainly probably 50 to 60,000 through Wellington Square again.
Cool. Sorry, Matt. Thanks.
No, it's absolutely fine. It's all thoroughly interesting, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about a conversation and an open conversation. That I say thank you so much to Drake, the bookshop, who are business in the spotlight this month. Now we're moving on slightly, but we've got about 10 minutes left. Stockton Bid, under the leadership direction of Jason, who's I'll say he's with us this afternoon as always, do so much more than things like great campaigns like Humans of the High Street. Behind the scenes, Jason's also been working on the development of a brand new self-care brand, B, to support his Levy member community that will include a free workplace service mental health program. It's designed by OOC and in partnership with Mind and Public Health. Jace, this intervention is sort of so vital for small business owners and family businesses who often sort of don't have the time or the resources to actually be able to implement a mental health well-being program to the business. Is that why this has done this? And I mean, it's an amazing resource. Is it free as well?
Yeah, it's going to be free to the businesses. It's, to be honest, it's something that myself and the leadership team looked at. Well, I don't know, Sean, but maybe 18 months ago. We were concerned that, not 18 months ago, probably a year ago, that we were concerned that the mental health of our businesses doesn't get in the right space, really. I've had a small business, and the difficulty is when you have a small business, you get into this almost into a bubble, and sometimes you don't know which way you're looking, don't know which way you're thinking. And my thoughts were always that if you were part of a larger company or a larger organization, you would have an EAP or an employee assistance program that you could turn to. So if you were feeling low, you had an issue and those types of things, there was an independent line, if you like, that you could call. So we did a lot of research and we came back with a company called 3 Eggs who hadn't done this before for a town centre. They did it for smaller businesses and that type of thing. So we worked with 3 Eggs for a little while, and George down there who's done a good job. And what we are effectively doing is setting up an employee assistance program for a town centre for all of the independent businesses. So if they are having an issue or they're having a mental health issue or they just want to talk to somebody, then that's that's an option that they have available to them. And there is a program that they can go through as part of that. We did look at other options, and we were looking at having, so we've got our dementia friendly high street as well. And as part of that, the dementia friends, you have champions and they make other, dementia friends, etc. And one of the other charities said, well, was why don't we have a mental health champion in the town, and that business can go and speak to that business. Well, actually, the businesses don't often speak to each other anyway. It's really difficult to get them communicating. So to get them to go and speak to something about something so personal would be really difficult. So the idea is that we wanted to create something where the businesses could go along and they could speak to anonymously if they wanted to, go along and have that chat and get a feeling that actually we are part of something a little bit bigger, which the employee assistance program give to them. So Max has done some work for us. 3 Eggs have done some work for us. And what we've done is we've put a bit of an overarching theme around this project. And for me, I don't think there's anywhere else that does it. So again, we're one of the towns that are leading the way with this when we come to helping our independent businesses. And that for me is really important.
I think it's a fantastic idea. And as you say, highly innovative. And I'm sure a lot of, it's, as you say, it's so right. A lot of big businesses and big companies have this in place. And as an independent trader, we've talked many times actually on the Met about, being wrapped up too much in your own work that you can't focus on actually how you're feeling and doing that. It's fantastic.
And that's really important because they are independent businesses, and sometimes, and Richard's there with it, and he's got his family and his team working around him, and there are other businesses like that, but there are that do really well, and they might be able to have those conversations. But there are others where, particularly at the moment, some people don't have other team members, And we've seen, you know, Richard or Louise Laws or Sean from, you know, from ARC tonight, they have to wear about 15 different hats. One day they're an accountant, the next day they're a buyer, the next day they're a marketeer, the next day they're a salesperson. And you can't go through all of those things without having the stresses that go alongside it. And sometimes you just need to get yourself out of that particular headspace. And all we're doing with this is we're just trying to give people an outlet to go and have that conversation. And it's got to be a good thing. And if it isn't, we've done no harm. And if it's not, then we've done a really good thing and helped a number of businesses along the way.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fantastic initiative. I mean, you've been busy, Jace, because not only have you been developing a self-care brand and supporting the needs of the Levy community, you've also got Kids Street Smart as well, which is coming out.
Well, again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to put some life back onto the streets over the summer. So we're looking for a summer campaign really where we can do sort of different things. And this is just focused around art and pop-up and things like that. You know, it might be that we can, it's still in its infancy, really. We're still playing with different ideas, but it's all about trying to get kids from an educational point of view back onto the streets, come into our town centre, and to generate the next generation of users for our high street. That is all that we're focusing is getting people to use our high streets. And if we can do that through art, through street art, through music, through performance, whatever it happens to be, we will go down that route and try and find that experience to get the next generation back onto our high street. Because the one thing we are absolutely certain of, if the next generation of users don't come back to our high street, they will die. Now, I've always been an advocate that high streets aren't dying, they're evolving and they're changing like they always have. But what we definitely do need to do is get children and the next generation or young adults back and using our high streets. And if it's through art or other variants, then that's exactly what we intend to do. So it's really important that we embrace those types of things. I've had numerous conversations this week with the teenage market to try and get those guys back up there. So we're looking at an avenue where we can put a teenage market. So we're trying to, even if it's trying to build the next set of entrepreneurs. So Richard started his business, I think, in Fountains Mall. So maybe if we have a teenage market that start from a small acorn, that they can go from a market to Fountains Mall to having one bookshop on the high street, to opening up the second one next to it. It's those types of things that we're trying to inspire our young people to do. And that's, again, what we was talking about. I did an interview with Radio 4, and I'm sorry, because I do get passionate about these types of things, and I apologise every week, and I probably shouldn't. But when we're talking about Boris Johnson and levelling up the country, it's really important that they're not just focused on transport and networks and those types of things, but we are levelling up our people. And if we don't level up the people and give people opportunity and hope to better themselves, then it'll never work. And that's the one thing that we've got to do. So we have a big issue with antisocial behaviour at the moment, but we've never spoken to those people that are on drugs and that are drinking and seeing, like, what hope have you got? What can we help to move on from that? And I think if we don't do that and we don't give them hope, we've probably got 3 or 4 generations now of people that are living on benefits. Well, why do I have to go to work? Because I get this and I get that. Well, actually, because for your mental health and your soul and your well-being, you've got to go to work. You've got to better yourself. So across all of those things, that's what we're trying to do. So, you know, if there's one thing that we will do is we will try and strive to get the next generation of users onto our high street and shopping in our businesses. Sorry, rant over.
It's not a rant at all, Jace. As we always say every week, it's a passionate forum and led by a passionate person in yourself. And it's always it's great to hear that passion come through for the community in Stockton. And I was going to bring Max in as well briefly. On those things. I know you wanted to have a quick chat to people about them. Oh, you're just on mute, Max.
Yeah, just really quickly, part of these projects that we're developing is really about enabling next generation, and it's all part of that bigger leveling up strategy. The Kids Street Smart is a really cool initiative that we're developing now, and I would really love if we could partner up with some other brands, such as, the Combined Authority, if we could get, just Williams, some of the law firms to kind of contribute and be part of this initiative. So yeah, that's a really good one. And the Be Self-Care proposition that we're creating, again, they're just innovative projects. And to be fair, you know, Sean and Jason are great to work with because they let us just be creative and do what we're really good at doing, and it just kind of works, comes together. So yeah, if you're interested in getting involved or having any information about it, please get in touch with Jason or I.
Brilliant, thanks, Max. I know Joanne jumped in there, Joanne from the Tees Valley Combined Authority, interested to get involved with both of them. Now we could probably talk for another hour. I know, Karen, I wanted to come back to you because I know you were hands up and everything, and I wanted to get your thoughts on everything that's going on. But I'm aware that people do have things to do and places to be. It looks like Sam's got a lovely garden to sit in this evening as well, so she's, you know, she's definitely busy. So I guess we'll wrap it up there. A massive thank you to everyone to come along. Karen, it's been lovely to have you along and joining us once more. Thank you so much for your support. A big thanks to Sam from Ook, who sits quietly, normally in the background, I say, but today he's quietly in our garden, just lapping up the sun there. But really, that composed and swan-like exterior, that's really like going like that underneath. So thanks, Sam, for obviously making sure the Met runs smoothly, as always, booking everyone and doing everything. Big thanks to Max at Ook for coordinating the event, liaising with our contributors and helping to shape the narrative and content brings us together here at the Met. A big thank you to all of you for being involved. Without you, the Met is nothing, and it's great to see businesses connecting. You know, Drake there talking, you know, having worked recently with EMS, and it's just great to see the connections that are made through the community that we do forge here together at the Met. And as always, a huge big thank you to Jason Maxwell, who leads us all at the bid and at the Met as well. Thanks so much for being with us, and thank you, as I say, to you all. We shall see you next month. Tickets will be on Eventbrite, and no, not next month, because that's the school holidays and stuff. So we can all chill out for a month, and we can not go anywhere probably, but we can all we can all hang out and have a bit of time off. But then the month after that, we shall be back. And we'll be in touch about that going forward. Thank you so much to everyone. Have a safe journey to wherever you're going, whether it's the sofa, whether it's the fridge, whether it's your back garden, or whether it is in fact home. We'll see you all soon. Thanks.
Take care. Thank you, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
See you in September. Bye.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everybody.